Hi, 2nd of August 2020. Yesterday, 1st of August, was African Emancipation Day, and many people in yesterday's Brixton March were carrying banners saying, "Stop the Maangamizi." As far as I can make out, this means stop the Holocaust against Africans. Maangamizi essentially is the African Holocaust. The aims of the organisation calling itself Stop the Maangamizi are written on their website using African terminologies such as Matubuntununyansa and Matubuntuman, as well as highfalutin English, which make parts of it very difficult fully to understand. This is particularly true of the first paragraph. Broadly speaking, though, and I do recommend that you look at their website and get the actual wording, but broadly speaking, their aims are to educate people about the Maangamizi, the African Holocaust, and find ways to stop it and solve any problems. They want to gather evidence and take it to the UK and EU government so they will be taken seriously and will be able to ask for an all-party parliamentary commission of inquiry for truth and reparatory justice. I'm not too happy about the reparatory justice bit, but we'll come on to that later. So, what about Extinction Rebellion? How are they involved? Because they are slightly unofficially. In yesterday's demonstration in Brixton, a number of minority groups joined the march to mark African Emancipation Day, and amongst these were some members of Extinction Rebellion. Now, bearing in mind that Stop the Maangamizi wants to stop contemporary manifestations of essentially European exploitation of Africans, why would they allow Extinction Rebellion to join their march? One of the biggest influences in recent years on an increase in cobalt production is an increase in demand for battery-powered cars, which require cobalt for their batteries. An estimated 35,000 children work in perilous conditions to extract cobalt from the ground in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The DRC is a nation the size of Western Europe, and it mines 60% of the world's cobalt, of which 20% is extracted from unregulated, small-scale mines where children as young as 11 risk life and limb in dangerous makeshift tunnels and with no protective clothing or breathing apparatus, all for less than £1.50 a day. Extinction Rebellion promotes the use of such battery-powered cars. Therefore, they are a big influence on the increase of child exploitation by Europeans in Africa. This shows either ignorance, which is where I lean, I must admit there, with this lot, but it shows either ignorance or hypocrisy on the part of Extinction Rebellion, and either ignorance or a cynical exploitation of useful idiots on the part of the Stop the Maangamizi organisation. The march on the 1st of August was led by Iman, the Forever Family Force, and the Slow Boys on motorbikes as it made its way through Brixton. The Forever Family Force were wearing paramilitary uniforms, and one of their leading members, who made her presence known when trying to stop police from arresting a troublemaker, was the hate-filled, racially divisive Oxford BLM leader Sasha Johnson, wearing her Citizen Smith beret, who has been shown on video racially abusing another black person and threatening him physical violence. Just look up Oxford BLM leader racially abuses and threatens a member of the public on YouTube. By and large, the march did pass peacefully with only 3 arrests, but the organisers need to watch who they associate themselves with. We all know that BLM is not about equality and racial harmony. Read their manifesto. They're a hard-left Marxist organisation that wants anarchy in Europe. So, what about reparations? To most people on the streets, that conjures up a vision of white people who have never owned slaves giving money to black people who have never been slaves because of slavery, which seems a tad unfair. And if they're talking about the UK, for example, having been wealthy because of slavery, well, all you black people living here are sharing in that wealth. But is that the case here anyway? On the one hand, we have Professor Chinua Achebe, a Nigerian critic, essayist and poet and journalist, who said that the most important aspects of reparations is not the money that the campaign may or may not bring. The most important part of reparations is our self-repair, the change it will bring about in our understanding of our history, of ourselves, and of our destiny. The change it will bring about in our place in the world. For we need to move from this old global order where the Holocaust happened to us to a different global order where the Holocaust will never happen to us. We need to move from this old global order, which sucks resources out of our veins and piles debts upon our head, to a different global order in which our enormous resources shall serve our own prosperity. We need to move from this old global order, which is permeated with negrophobia, to a new global order that is cleansed of negrophobia, one where we would live in dignity and equality with all other races of humanity. This seems on the face of it to be quite reasonable, but I'm anxious about the outcomes if the wrong people get into power in Africa. Look at what happened to whites in Zimbabwe, which is now being repeated in South Africa with the torture and brutal murder of white farmers and their entire families. Look what is happening in Nigeria with the ongoing attempted genocide of the Igbo. But on the other hand, we have Kofi Mawuli-Klue, chair of the Pan-African Task Force for Internationalist Dialogue, who advocates a mobilization of the broad masses of African people, by which I doubt he includes white Africans, in order to rid themselves of the yoke of white racist supremacy, neo-colonialism, and the stranglehold of Eurocentrism on Africans at home and abroad, in order to have the necessary force of coercion to make the perpetrators of the heinous crimes against us to honor the obligations of even the best fashioned letter and spirit of international law. So, how is white supremacy operating in Africa today? The African countries are all run by black people now, including South Africa. The colonialist powers have given back the countries they once controlled. Black Africa has been in control of its own destiny for decades. The Europeans have pumped in billions of pounds, euros and dollars to help them feed the starving, dig wells, buy farm animals, irrigate the dry lands. We've helped with birth control, health and hygiene, and much, much more. Look at charities like Oxfam, Rotary International, Save the Children, Live Aid, Comic Relief, all pumping millions of pounds every year from ordinary British people and other European people, most of whom are white. What is happening to this money? Let's take cobalt as an example. How is white supremacy at work here? The Democratic Republic of Congo has 60% of the world's cobalt production. I've already mentioned that. They can charge what the market will bear, with 60% of the world's production. The value of cobalt in the West is rising in order to fulfill Extinction Rebellion's dream of creating pollution in concentrated areas around power stations rather than spreading it around from car exhausts. So where is the exploitation? All the DRC needs to do is negotiate a better price. And if that price is not high enough to allow safe and humane employment conditions, then stop producing it. The price will soon rise. White supremacy has less to do with this than African greed and disregard for their fellow man. It's about culture, not race. The same goes for diamonds and gold. Africa has control of the mines and what they produce. In agriculture, the growing world population requires more food. Europe and the West gives Africa a market. Africa controls the means of production, just like the Marxists preach. So where is the white supremacy? What are you doing with your control of the means of production? Now, I believe that neo-colonialism, if it existed, would be a bad thing. But if Africa controls its own means of production, how does neo-colonialism work? In this modern age of globalism, Europeans and Americans have become reliant on food and mineral wealth from Africa. Africa controls the means of production. Where is the exploitation coming from? Stop blaming Whitey for everything and look to your own backyard. We're trying to help you, but you destroy so much of what we give, or you buy guns and fight amongst yourselves instead of building your economies. Some African countries manage quite well, but many are violent, murderous, religiously intolerant, tribal nations full of corruption and hatred for anyone they deem as nonconformist, whether on the grounds of religion, race, or politics. Christians in Nigeria, the Igbo of Biafra, the whites in South Africa and in Rhodesia, where they are offering to pay the white farmers to return because they can't feed themselves without their help. Is that white supremacy or something else? I agree with Morgan Friedman. Stop talking about color. I dream of a world where people just get on with each other, where they don't see race or color. I dream of a world where people stop trying to be the biggest victim, where they stop blaming someone else for their own failures, where they realize that in the UK, as well as much of Europe, where there is so much positive discrimination already, they already have control of their own destiny. I dream of a world where people wake up to the fact that it is not about race, it's about culture. I want to see an end to racism by anyone of whatever colour towards everyone, regardless of colour. I dream of a world where lefty liberals wake up to the fact that white supremacism is a myth perpetuated by certain activists to persuade useful idiots to help them destroy my culture. I dream of a world where black and white unite to solve problems instead of playing victim and blaming everyone else. If you don't have a dream, how are you going to have a dream come true? See ya.